Welcome to the Intrinsic First Leadership Podcast. I'm Aaron Robbins with Intrinsic First. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date on our latest episodes. Ready to dive into the world of leadership? Let's get started. Hey everyone, thanks for joining our Intrinsic First Leadership Podcast today. We have a special guest, Mr. Ramsey Bergeron. He is a leadership growth specialist. Strategist. I was about to
it's all good.
do our,
it
first,
our
first curse word of the podcast. I said it like 6 times before we started, but I still got it wrong, so that figures. But yeah, so he's here today. We're going to talk about some pretty cool leadership topics, maybe some performance psychology kind of things, because he's a multi-time Ironman. I don't know the right way to say that, but he's done many Ironmans, and I think that's pretty cool. Jimmy and I are friends with a few Ironman people ourselves, and half Ironmans and womans. So to start off, as we typically do, I'll hand it over to you, and if you don't mind, kind of introducing yourself, whatever you want to share with us and the wonderful viewers that we have, and then we'll just kind of let that run, and we'll see where the discussion goes.
Oh, thanks, appreciate that, Aaron. Yeah, my name is Ramsey Bergeron, leader. No, I can't even say it right. Leadership growth strategist and mindset and resilience facilitator. I help people realize that usually a lot of the problems they have are just the ones that they're telling themselves. It's not really what happens to us; it's how we choose to respond. I'm an 8-time Ironman, and I've spent a lot of the first part of my life focusing on my physical well-being. My dad passed away when I was really young from complications from diabetes, and so I decided I wasn't going to go out like that. I wanted to focus all of my energy on my physical well-being and neglected so much of my mental and emotional well-being. And I think the reason I can relate to a lot of leaders is a lot of leaders do that with work. They do that with putting everything into one basket and then neglecting other areas of their life. And it's only when things come to a breaking point that they realize, all right, I need to be viewing things differently. And that happened for me about, I guess, 8 or 9 years ago now. COVID's always thrown off my timeline for what reality even is. And then pivoted to want to help people realize that they have choice in the situations in their life. And that's what I do full time now.
Right. What's your educational background, if you don't mind asking?
Went to college to study communications, emphasis in public speaking, and then I was a personal trainer for 15 years. So I was NASM certified, CPT, PES, and that was my business for 15 years, performance enhancement specialist. And then went back to school, get certified through IPEC, the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. I'm ICF certified coach. And then back in my early 20s, I was the national director of field marketing for JBC Entertainment. So going around to individual, they had 25 units across the country. They were a lot like Dave & Buster's. So I don't know if you're familiar with Dave & Buster's, but JBC was Jillian's. They also had nightclubs. And so they would roll something out nationally and think that it's going to work. I'm like, well, every market's different. So they actually created the job at corporate for me to go into different markets to find out what's going to work and just kind of analyze individual, markets and give my recommendation on what we should do to make it successful there. Right on. So a lot of more life experience than formal into this space.
Okay.
Cool.
And then what do you do now? I guess what takes up most of your time?
Leadership growth strategy. So I used to spend a lot of time coaching, but now I work with organizations. I've developed programs to help them learn how to have better stress management. Actually just developed a system called Next 30. And the concept is win your next 30 seconds, minutes, and days. And because those are really the 3 different time frames that I think leaders really have to think about and be the most effective. Because that next 30 seconds, are you responding instead of reacting to stress? Next 30 minutes, how effective are you at your time management? How effective are you at time blocking and being mindful for what the tasks are? In the next 30 days, are you actually doing things that move the needle? So creating programs, I say most companies have systems for their operations. I create systems for mindset. Like, let's create systems to help you be present and focus on the things that are within your control.
Right on. And there's a big shift from just working with organizations, and before that you were doing like one-on-one coaching What do you like about the organizational part more so than maybe the one-on-one coaching? Just kind of curious.
Well, it's more, I can see overall cultural change, like seeing, because it's not just the people I'm working with. It's because usually I work a lot with C-suite and middle management, but then how does that translate to 500 employees? And not just that, how does that then translate to their customers and into the communities that they live in? So seeing a lot more systemic change in creating healthier organizations culturally.
Right. Yeah, so Aaron and I have a little bit different background. Like, well, his is more organizational behavior, and mine's more like, one-on-one, like team performance, individual performance, and then we get into the organizational part. So I think it complements our kind of way we go about our business and being able to, whether it's work within, organizations or just an individual. So, yeah.
Well, and I still do group coaching. I still do one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even with the group coaching, it's a lot of it is hot seat. Like you'll find out, you'll have one person kind of work through their thing and everyone realizes they're not alone, because it's so often we're focused on the story, but actually the usually the core issue is it's universal. Like they may have a struggle with a coworker, but that core issue with that coworker is something that every person on that call can probably relate to in one area or another. So I think it does blend seamlessly together if you know how to do that and coach the person, not the story.
Right. It's just a different skill set too. So being able to be well versed in all those different contexts, I think is super important. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you say you've written a book?
I did. So my book, which is, I guess it looks like it's growing out of my head here, Cake on the Floor. So part of what I was doing was I was a DJ for 20 years, just doing weddings and corporate functions. And that kind of helped me build the capacity and skill to talk to 500 people and not feel nervous. I was at a wedding maybe 15 years ago where the bride went to cut her wedding cake, but the venue didn't lock the legs of her cake table out all the way. So this 5-tier cake falls all over the floor. And she actually started laughing. And everyone in the room started laughing. I was like, wow, what a cool way to respond to that. And so my book is called Cake on the Floor, How to Respond to Life's Unexpected Moments with Resilience and Grace. And that's what I try to tell my clients is there's always cake on the floor. Like there's always going to be something that happened that you wish didn't happen. The only thing you have control over is how you choose to respond to that. So that's kind of how what I framed the book and some of my keynotes around.
Yeah. No, that's good. I had a cake on the floor moment the other day. With some statistics for a paper we're doing. So we're working on the revisions and we're just about done with all the revisions, getting ready to submit this thing back to the journal. And we're going back to pull just one last piece of data and realize in the analysis that we completely forgot to add in 2 of the times in the analysis. So it was a longitudinal study over 6 time periods. And we used a template from a previous study for the data analysis that only had 4 times and forgot to add in the text or the syntax for adding in the 5th and 6th time. So basically we're starting completely over and all the data's changed on our results. So we have to rewrite the paper now.
Well, but was it starting completely over?
So no, not completely over, but where we made certain conclusions about the data being, now that we have more time periods, it's actually
stronger.
It's actually stronger, right? Because if you have more data, then you have a more powerful statistical analysis. So more of the relationships that we wanted to see or hypothesized we would see are actually statistically significant when we thought maybe they weren't. But it changes a huge portion of the content of the paper, and we have this revision due, in a week based on one set of assumptions. And so, but yeah, it was like my response. But the reason I thought of it is like my reaction, I literally was just kind of laughing like, God damn. All right. Well, what are we going to, let's do it. Let's just fix it and let's go. Let's go. It sucks, but we'll make it through. And I think that's true. It's like a lot of people they shut down when those kind of things happen, or, it's such a big deal and it's the optimist, pessimist, kind of perspective on things. So.
Well, and there's actually, the school that I graduated from for coaching, IPEC, they have a methodology where there's 7 different lenses that you can view any situation from. And they range in kind of the energetic response that you approach it to, with the lowest level 1 being victim mode, or this is happening to me, I can't believe it. And level 7 being more of the enlightened, like, hey, everything simply is, and this is meant to happen, and what I'm supposed to be here and experience it, which is usually pretty unrealistic in the modern corporate world. Short of taking mushrooms every day, people usually end up kind of in the middle levels of anything. Yeah. But it's because whenever we have something like that happen, and we can get stuck in that victim, we put ourselves in that victim mindset of, I can't believe this happened to me. This shouldn't be this way, because now this messes everything up. I'm going to have to go back. And the longer we're stuck there, we're defying reality. So I say that we're almost delusional, because I now wish I was in this alternate reality where this didn't happen, because I can't accept this. And the longer I'm there, I'm not actually taking any agency and realizing that I can do things to change the situation, but not if I'm stuck, because it just doesn't compute. It's almost like I just got code that's kind of running in a loop in my head, because it shouldn't be this way. And so helping people get unstuck from that to find out, like, all right, this did happen. What do you want to do moving forward? I went to do an Ironman in Norway in 2018, and my tire exploded, mile 76 of the bike. And what wasn't the tube, the whole tire was just, the sidewall blew out. And so my day was done. Wow. And for 3 hours, I sat by the side of the road, pretty mad about it. I flew my bike there. I can't believe this is happening to me. I want to cross the finish line. And one of the things that finally occurred to me, that, like, if this hand is me crossing that finish line, and this hand is my tire exploding, that gap is stress. And that's all stress is the gap between what I want to have happen and reality. And the sooner I can let go of this, what I think should be the case, and come over here and say, all right, well, I got to add 2 more sets of numbers into my data. All right, well, the sooner I can accept that, I then change and move forward with the new reality of what I want to do.
Yeah, it's locus of control.
Yeah,
I mean, we talk about that a lot.
Attribution theory, and you start getting to like locus of control. So when I'm helping athletes deal with that, there's 2 ways I can do. I can start working down, helping them understand what those negative thought patterns are, and then moving on to like positive self-talk. That's like the restructuring aspect. Another avenue works for some athletes is just mindfulness and acceptance, right? And so I'm kind of curious, which way do you kind of steer towards? Is it more towards that accept, or is it a little bit of both? Just kind of curious.
Well, it's my perspective on athletics and life in general has really changed a lot over the last 6 years. If you would have told me 6 years ago that I was meditating and focusing on being present, I'd be like, man, I don't have time for that. Like, I'm busy. I meditate. Are you kidding? And then it was actually a documentary on sports that really changed my life, which was the Last Dance. Yeah. The one about the Chicago Bulls. Mm-hmm. And I was always intrigued by Phil Jackson. I grew up in a house that was half Catholic, half Muslim. So religion was for me, it was very, I don't know, oppressive, I guess was the right word. Like, it didn't feel very welcoming or open. It was wrath-based. I guess maybe that's based on my, what's that?
Controlling, guilt-based, kind of like.
Yeah, very much so.
Shame.
And then watching the documentary, I'm like, wow, Phil Jackson, like, that guy's got his life together. Mm-hmm. And I knew he was Buddhist, but I didn't know what Buddhism was or what Eastern philosophy was. And so I got a book after that documentary, and by Thich Nhat Hanh, The Heart of the Buddhist Teachings, and started reading that and just really started to understand what mindfulness is, of being present. And a month later, my best friend, who I'd known since I was 5 years old, we grew up playing soccer together in Arkansas. He drank himself into a coma and passed away. Oh. And the hospital actually let me in for the last 5 hours of his life. I took him off the ventilator. And spending that time there with him, had I not started studying Buddhism and understanding what it was to just be present and sit with it and sit with him, I don't know how I would have been able to handle that. After he passed away, I did my first 10-day silent meditation, a Vipassana sit. It was 10 days of no speaking, no eye contact, no reading, no writing, no exercise, no music, just 100 hours of meditation in 10 days. And through that, understanding that a lot of my suffering is either clinging or craving, hatred or aversion, or just ignorance. And so learning to just be present with what is. And I have to keep coming back to that. Like, I try to meditate daily, because it's when I notice the thought loop in my head, meditation has helped me create that space between myself and the thought to recognize it's just a thought, and it's like how much truth is even there. Very Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. Like, all right, well, let's ground back into my body, into my senses, and be here now. So, I think that's the second. What was the first option you gave?
So it was basically restructuring thought patterns. Understand, that this is a negative thought pattern, identifying it, disrupting it, and then just replacing it with something more positive. And so I find that both of them work. And I work a lot with high schoolers, and to your point, it's harder to teach them sometimes, meditation, because they're all over the place. But for some athletes that I do work with, that's the way to go. And what I've learned is it's just good to, as a practitioner, to have both of those skill sets in your toolbox, basically.
Yeah. So to the first point, whenever I notice a negative thought, I give it a voice in my head. And for me, I make it Gilbert Gottfried, just because for me, it's just a very comic that's clearly not me. And for the younger listeners, Google him. He's the Aflac Duck. But, because it's like, you'll never make it. You'll never finish. And once I put that voice in my head, I recognize it's not me. And it makes me kind of chuckle. It's kind of like my own pattern interrupt.
Right on.
And I no longer go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. You ever heard him do the aristocrats joke?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There's
a whole documentary on that.
The movie on the aristocrats joke, and I think they like finish it off with that. But the story behind it was like he was getting frustrated because it wasn't getting anywhere, and he like did it on the fly. He was like, "All right, you guys want to do this? All right, here we go." But that voice, that's great. The Aflac guy.
Yeah.
That's funny. My inner dialogue is Gilbert Gottfried.
Well, my negative voice is Gilbert Gottfried. Yeah. If it was all the time, man. Well, we are with ourselves. We're in our voice constantly. And that's what that 10-day Vipassana meditation was, is just watching that insanity of monkey mind. And so when I talk, when I do my main keynote called Your Powers and Your Perspective, I talk about monkey mind and habit energy being the two things that really keep us from being present and stuck in autopilot mode. And if we just listen to that voice that's running nonstop in our head, it's like, you know what? I got to go to the dry cleaner today to pick up my dry cleaning day. I don't want to pick up my kids after school today because then I got to see Topher's mom. And just that nonstop voice that runs all the time, and being able to recognize that's not you. Yeah. I did my first endurance race since, I guess just since I kind of figured out where I wanted to be with my life. 2 years ago, I did a 12.5 mile swim around Key West, Florida. So it was 8 hours and 45 minutes without stopping, swimming in the ocean. And it was the first endurance race I had done to that magnitude where it wasn't just suffering through to get to the end. Like whenever I do the Ironman, it's like, I got 12 more miles of this, or just concentrating on that. Where this one, whenever my mind would go there, I'm like, well, I get to play in the ocean. I get to swim right now. In this moment, all I can do is take one more stroke, and really shifting from that outcome focus to the, being present and focusing on the journey. Because that's really all life is. And I think especially as leaders, or as athletes, either one, we get so stuck on the end of the game or that finish line. And if we do that, we're going to miss the play. If we're thinking about what we're going to do after the game or winning the game, I'm not present, and I could get hit in the head with a ball, depending on the sport I'm playing, if I'm not really paying attention. So, focusing on that process mindset instead of that outcome mindset.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a cliche, it's the journey, not the destination. But I think, and I think it, for me anyways, I think it's come with age, is just experiences. At some point, for me, it was like I realized, like, wait, there's always going to be the next thing, right? And at work, for us, there was this situation where we were going downhill. We lost a big contract, and things just kept getting worse. And everybody just kept saying, well, as soon as we get to X, then it'll be better, right? And that happened like 6 times in a row. And at some point, it's like, no, you got to ride the wave, right? And whether it's up or down or wherever you're going.
I remember when you had that epiphany. It was actually right after you read Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now.
Yeah, he had me read Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, well, my son had me read it, and I read it, and I was like, Aaron,
and then I spent like a year and a half just not giving a shit about anything. I was just walking around enjoying life, like whatever. When I first went over to the NEAF, and Man, I was peaceful there.
See,
But I
and
think
that's,
there's a balance.
and that's a great
too.
point. That's the hard balance, right? Is how do I be
exactly.
goal oriented, but also be present and in the moment?
Exactly.
And I use the analogy, like if I'm driving to New York, first thing I need to do is know, am I starting in San Diego or am I starting in Phoenix or Seattle? Like I got to know where I am, and I have to have my map mapped out, but I also need to watch out for the kid running in front of my car right here. I can't just be so focused on the goal, I'm not present. But if I don't have that goal, I'm just drifting. And for a while when I first had this, I was so stuck almost in none of this matters. I'm just I'm the universe experiencing this reality through this lens, that I was almost detached from reality. But I'm like, well, then I'm missing the whole point of life. I get to be here and experience this. Why don't I just be present and experience it? So yeah, I almost like spiritual bypassing of things don't matter. And it's like, well, but no, it does matter. If I don't want to view the world nihilistically, because I think that's a double-edged sword, right? You can either view everything as nothing matters, it's all nihilistic, or no, I get to be here, and whether it's good or bad, I get to have this experience and make whatever I want of it.
Usually when I tell athletes, it's when they're learning that is just give yourself a little grace. You can still march down your path, but things aren't going to go your way, and that's okay. And it's just more about being able to not be so judgmental and critical, but just learn from life's happenings and just give yourself a little bit of grace. Yeah. That's that usually resonates more like high school kids from my experience. Yeah. I do have a question about your 100 hours of meditation. Is there, as you're going through that day by day for 10 days, is there a progression, or is there like a process? Do you understand, or can you replay some of the learnings, I guess, in those 10 days as they occurred? Is that something that you can do?
Sure. It's
real quick. So I think about somebody that's like, listen, wow, 100 hours, that's a lot for someone that doesn't meditate, right? Even for someone that does. But I'm just kind of curious, like, what does that look like for someone that's in it, and what's that experience? So our listeners can like relate to what that means to go through that.
Sure. So every night, the guy that founded the school, you watch a 1-hour video that he kind of talks about the history of the school, which goes to Burma to like the 3rd century. So apparently there was almost back the time of Buddha, where there was one teacher and one apprentice, which I don't want to equate too much to Star Wars and being a Sith Lord, but it's kind of like it was very much like passed down from one person to one person for like almost 2,000 years. So it's the closest to the original kind of Buddhist tradition. And every day you progress the practice a little bit. Mm-hmm. So the first day, you're focusing on the breath coming out of your nose, feeling it on your upper lip, just focusing on that. And if you have a thought, that's okay. Just redirect it back to the breath.
For an entire day?
So the way it's broken up, you wake up at 4 a.m., you start meditating 4:30 to 6:30, you go have breakfast, which there's 40 people on this campus that I was at, the men, 20 women, and the only time you see the opposite sex is in the meditation hall. So all the 20 men, you're eating together, but it's very much like when you're having breakfast with your partner and you're fighting, because there's that silence, no one's talking. Right. So you're all in the same room eating, but no one's saying anything. You're not even making eye contact. And then, you have breakfast at 6:30 to 7. You go back to meditate for 2 hours. You have
lunch. Like you sitting in a room by yourself. Is that the meditation part, that 2 hours?
Well, so some are optional. So like the 4:30 to 6:30, you can do in they call it your cell, because you have a bed, you have your own toilet. It's a very minimalist room. Or you can go to the meditation hall and sit with others if you want. And there's assigned seating, because that way, like the first day, it's like a half day. They kind of say, okay, this is where you're going to sit. That way, you don't have to really learn or figure anything out or communicate with other people, because you know kind of the protocol for what you want to do, or what you have to do. So then there are assigned times in the meditation hall, which I think totaled 6 hours a day, where you're in the meditation hall. There is a teacher who sits in the front, and the first 5 minutes of every hour, they play a recording of the guy who founded the school, just kind of going through some chants, and then what is the focus for that particular day, for the meditation. And every day it progresses just a little bit, to where the first couple days you're focusing on calming that monkey mind down. You're focusing on the breath coming out of your nose, just so that you can learn to just sit with awareness, quiet the mind. And then the next 7 days, and actually these first 3 days, you're getting more and more focused. So at first it's the breath coming out of both nostrils, and then it's out of one, and then it's just sensing the breath at all coming out of a nostril. And then the next 7 days are called sits of determination, where you sit for at least an hour at a time, and no matter what, you don't move. You're doing body scans. So if you feel an itch, one, it's not your itch, it's just an itch. And if there's an itch on my left leg, but I'm doing a body scan, I'm on the right arm, well, I'm not on the left leg. Just you don't pay attention to it. But when you're there, you just notice it with equanimity. It's where does the itch start? Where does it stop? Is my leg asleep? Where does the numbness start? Where does it stop? And by doing that, you're learning to observe without clinging or aversion. So it simply is. And by the end of it, you're doing these body scans and you feel like Doctor Strange. You can feel that all you are is energy, and feel the energy of the people all around you. And it was an incredible experience of understanding energy and your mind, what's reality, and really connection with other people, and how all we are is energy. You really sense that when you're in that experience.
It sounds like you get through the first 3 days and you go to this new stage of the experience, and then it sounds like somewhere in those next 7 days you start to really have a shift, mindfully of where you are, what's around you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I've dabbled in plant medicine as well, and I will say I got to the same point doing meditation that I did on a hero dose. Like it was very much like, and that told me that both experiences were true for me.
Okay.
You really sense that when you quiet the mind and get out of your ego's way and get out of the monkey mind's way, and you're present with self, you get to realize that your senses are a filter. And there's so much more around you all the time that you're not aware of. Like if I were to say right now, think about your left foot in your sock or your shoe. Before I said that, you probably weren't even thinking about what the sensations were in your foot, in your sock, in your shoe. But now that I mentioned it, you can sense it. And so when you're doing the 7 days of body scans, you begin to sense everything, all the sensory input your body's taking in, and it really kind of expands your awareness for reality.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel bored?
Yeah. And learning how to be okay with it. I mean, they're smart. They take your keys and your phone right off the bat, right? So like, it's not like I can't just be like, I'm done with this, I got to get out of here. That's not going to happen. And sometimes when you go to your room to meditate, you sit and you recognize. I remember I was going to brush my teeth once, and I said, let's brush our teeth, just out loud to myself or my stomach. Who's this us? Like this plural. And just recognizing some of the insanity of just how you talk to yourself in moments, and being able to sit with feelings and realize that feelings are energy. And I teach classes on emotional intelligence in the workplace, and learning how to sit with an emotion. Where in my body am I feeling this? It's energy, and allowing it to express how it expresses. It was definitely a life-changing experience.
Oh, very cool. I mean, because we always think about leadership, and I know Aaron and I both believe that it always starts with yourself and being self-aware. Yeah. And I think going through an experience like that is like, it's like the ideal way, in my opinion, to really get to understand who you are and where you are in this world.
Agreed. And it doesn't cost anything.
Right.
It's free. I'll give them a shameless plug. It's not like I'm not getting any money from them. It's a Dhamma, DHAMMA.org, and it's a Vipassana center. I went to one in 29 Palms in August. So like it was, air conditioning wasn't great. Exercise wasn't an option anyway, but they're all over the world, and they usually sell out. They usually fill up within an hour of opening. Now, once you go through the 10 days, you can donate, but it doesn't cost anything because they don't want you to feel like you have any say in what the food is or the accommodations. Like you're there in the charity of others, and then you pay it forward at the end. So it's really a selfless kind of thing. And yeah, I think, to your point, Jimmy, it is. If you can't lead yourself, how in the hell are you supposed to lead someone else? Right. And that's the thing I took away from that is, how do I learn to manage myself, sit with the discomfort, and just learn who the hell I am?
I think there's also an aspect, though, of understanding yourself, where you have to be, I agree, being present, being aware of what you're doing, but it's also being aware of that in various situations, right? So I think that, because I've never done anything close to that. I've tried meditation, breathing exercises, maybe for up to 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, maybe 15. And I do value it. It's good stuff. But in terms of understanding yourself, there's that inner dialogue, right? Which I think you got at big time, and being able to just sit for hours and just contemplate and think and be present. But then there's but what about when someone says this to you, or what about when you're angry or frustrated or happy or whatever? And getting to know yourself is also, I think, being aware of those times and how you react. What is your disposition and what is your values, and defining those. And we say developing your values is understanding what does it mean to live that value, what are the consequences of it, what are the alternatives, right? Those kind of things. So anyways, I'm not disagreeing it by any means. I'm just saying I think it's like there's two pieces of it.
Well, I agree. And making the subconscious conscious. There's a saying in Eastern philosophy, if you're holding a cup of coffee and someone bumps you and you spill the coffee, why did you spill the coffee?
Yeah. Well, it's like in the Matrix. It's like, what's really going to get you is, would you have knocked it over if I hadn't said anything?
But there's a bit more of a thought experiment to it. So why then did you spill the coffee in the scenario I described?
You weren't paying attention to.
Well, if someone bumps you and you spill the coffee.
You didn't hold the coffee.
Well, it's because you were carrying coffee. If you were carrying water, you'd spill water. And the reason I bring that up is when the world bumps you, whatever's inside is going to spill out. And so whenever you have things that occur to you that, and this does tie into values. Like if you carry this agitation or frustration inside you and the world bumps you, that's what's going to spill out of you.
Got it.
And I think with the meditation, what helps is I can become aware of thoughts and feelings, that I am the observer of those thoughts and feelings, and I don't have to act on them. Mm-hmm. And I know there's different kinds of meditation, but for me, the reason that mindfulness meditation is effective is because I'm focusing on the breath, and then all of a sudden I start going down this thought train, and then I say, oh, wait, I'm thinking, okay, it's just a thought, back to the breath. Mm-hmm. And the more I continually do that, whenever I'm in a real world scenario, Aaron, kind of like what you're describing, is when I notice I'm about to react, I can take that pause, and the pause that Viktor Frankl talks about in Man's Search for Meaning, right? Between stimulus and response, there is that space. Mm-hmm. How do you create that space? And that's really what I help my clients work on.
That's a skill.
Yeah, so I think when you get into disposition, though, it's before acting on that skill. So fight or flight, or so. And I think by being a good leader, you understand your disposition. So when you're in certain scenarios, you don't act in an adverse way. And I think the way you don't do that is through what you're talking about, developing the skill of not reacting to the stimulus, and more importantly to controlling your response.
Well, even knowing your disposition, I think, can help create that space. Right.
Well, it's kind of like what Jimmy was saying too about with athletes. It's rehearsal. Mm-hmm. It's practice. It's when it's knowing, if you know you're going to be in those situations and you know what your general disposition is, what can I do to practice a response that's more in alignment with my values, so that I don't act as reactively in those situations.
Assuming that you've developed your values in the first place, and you're not just what we call programmed, which is just sort of running with it based on, however it was.
So real quick, George Mumford, you read his book, The Mindful Athlete?
I've not.
So George Mumford, he was with Phil Jackson on the team, and he was the one that helped Phil Jackson kind of help, build that team up.
Good to know. I'm going to read that for sure.
Yeah, it's The Mindful Athlete. It's everything we're talking about here. And he mentions Viktor Frankl as well. So it's a great book. When you said that, it just kind of brought me back to it. But I used that book early on, and I still recommend it to many athletes as well. So,
Well, I talk about, did you guys ever have those Choose Your Own Adventure books when you were growing up?
Oh, yeah.
I loved them. Yeah.
And I talk about that in life, and I have a chapter of my book that's written like that, because, if we actually do slow down to choose how we want to respond in a situation, we can make our life a Choose Your Own Adventure book. But so many of us aren't even holding the pen to our own story. Mm-hmm. We're just following the script of the programming, like you're talking about, and being able to slow down, we get to write our legacy. And I'm really big on helping leaders recognize that their legacy is built by design or by default, whether they react or respond. And at the end of your life, they're going to say something about you. Yeah. And is it in alignment with who you want to be?
Right. Yeah. So Stephen Covey, his first in 7 Habits, his first habit is, he calls it be proactive, which I don't know if proactive is necessarily the best word for that, but essentially what he means is like you choose, right? You
Yeah.
get to decide how you react to this, how you feel, right?
Yeah.
You can't change your physiological feelings, but you can change the emotion. You can adjust that. You can take control of, what you do and actions, of course, associated. So it's super powerful.
Yeah, I think it's a skill to be intentional, to be deliberate. That's all being a skill. So, like that gets away from the early thing about victimization, like saying, "Oh, why does this stuff always happen to me?" So
Right.
just gets you away from that to recognize
and that rolls back into motivation, because that's autonomy, right? That's where you have control over your own autonomy, where
agency. I think you said the word agency.
an agency,
Yeah.
sure, yeah, similar.
Well, I think also like intention, and this, I started writing a book that I never finished called Chasing the Rabbit, Why Achieving Success Was Never Enough. And so I would cross the finish line for an Ironman, and I'd feel great for a couple of days. And then, all right, well, what now? What now? So I want to do another one. And I didn't recognize that just as much as I was chasing these rabbits, I was running from the bear. I was running from these feelings I didn't want to experience. And a lot of people are surprised. I'm not a David Goggins fan. And people are like, well, why not? It's like, well, at some point you need a therapist. Like when you're running till you're peeing blood and your bones break. Like I'm all about being the best version of yourself. But what are you running from? Like, are we really teaching people to destroy the one thing that you have, which is your body, for the sake of not facing these other elements? So I think there is a balance to be achieved. I say that having swam 12 miles in the ocean, but I always find the hierarchy of what other people consider insane. Like for me, ultra marathoners, like, man, that stuff's crazy, but I would rather swim 36 miles than run it. So I guess it's all just a matter of perspective.
So there's two types of passion, according to Valorand, and the dualistic model of passion. And I think that's kind of what you're describing. I think it comes down to the why, right? Is somebody doing it because they're what they call obsessively passionate, which is a very controlled motivational state, right? And when you're obsessively passionate, you're doing it because you feel like you have to, right? There's a controlling aspect.
You're actually disciplined. You're disciplined at what you're doing. When you hear the word discipline, it's
sure
control.
Discipline. Holding myself accountable is another kind of very controlling thing. But it's usually self-esteem based or ego based or something like that, right? So it's like you need it, as opposed to, I think where you are is what they call harmonious passion, and that's a much more autonomous, an intrinsic type of motivated passion. And the weird thing is, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around this, is passion by definition, whether it's obsessive or harmonious, is still a positive affect. It's a positive emotion, over the long term, where you identify with what you're doing, right? It's an identity based thing.
Yeah.
But the harmonious versus obsessive is that, I think, the underlying why behind it. And I think that's where you go from, the destroying your body obsessive aspect to still having balance, which I think some people may not believe that you could run 250 miles or swim 12 miles or whatever and ever call that balance. But there's a way to do it, I believe, where you're not destroying yourself. Right.
Well, I think it comes down to the intention. And one of the things I tell my clients is don't confuse distractions for actions. There's a large number of endurance athletes that are former addicts, and they've just switched one addiction to another. So it's not just a matter of, oh, I love this. It's, this helps me avoid the pain. This helps me avoid feeling the things that I don't want to say should, because everyone's on their own journey. But again, what's the intention? Why do you feel you have to do this? And it becomes identity based. After my tire exploded, I wanted to do a redemption Ironman. So I signed up for one in Ireland the next year, the inaugural Ironman Ireland. And I went over there. The water was going to be 52 degrees in the swim, and there was a 100% chance of rain. And I was a sponsored athlete at the time. And I said, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do this. My back hurts. I've had 2 back surgeries. I had my first back surgery at 19 years old. That Irish weather was not conducive for my lumbar feeling good. And I remember putting on my social media saying, I'm tired of being the person that I think you all want me to be. I'm tired of wearing this mask. I'm going to drink a Guinness. I'm done with this stuff. Mm-hmm. And having people reach out and say, hey, thank you. Thank you for showing that you're human, that you're not just this invincible thing. And that's really when I started, and that was in 2018. So before The Last Dance and my whole kind of descent into awareness began, was, if I'm just real, And that's when I started asking myself, what is it that I want? Because I think with values, sometimes we can conflate what we think other people want our values to be with our own values. And so I find this a lot with like religion, like someone, like their spouse wants them to go, or their parents wanted them to go, or money. How much money can I make? Because my parents told me the only measure of success is how much is in the account. So how many of your values are truly your values? Because it's a different kind of passion. I think this does tie in with what you're saying, Aaron. Is it something that I feel I have to do this, the should versus the intrinsic part of it?
Yeah, that's the will you experience that is when you're living someone else's values, like typically your parents, right? That's the program aspect, and to go from, whether you do it in high school or young adulthood or never, but ideally you want to be able to explore and to be true to yourself, to develop your own values. And that might not be the same as what you were raised in. And that's a very tough thing to separate from. I mean, you just said your mom's Palestinian. Is she Muslim or is she Catholic? What's that?
She's Muslim. She grew up Muslim.
Okay. Yeah. So there's two very different sets of values, but yet there are similarities for sure. But to be able to struggle between, two religious upbringing values, I'm assuming they brought you up in both faiths. But
no, and that's the thing. So well, they were in the United Nations. My dad's American, my mom's Palestinian, and we moved from Switzerland to Arkansas when I was 5.
Okay,
and then I went to Catholic school for 6 years.
Got it.
But it really did shape my whole perspective on life. And the one word, and this kind of ties in with what you're talking about, Jimmy, that as an adult that I needed for myself was permission, and to give myself permission to be who I want to be and not live in the shadow of who I feel my mom wanted me to be or my dad wanted me to be. I have an exercise I do with my clients called This Is Who I Am. And I have them write out on a sheet of paper, like without using your name or job title, write a paragraph, this is who I am. And once they write it out, I say, okay, now show that to 3 of your closest friends and see if they can guess who it is. First of all. And if they can't, you got to do some real soul searching, and then do the same thing, but a year from now, write out, this is who I am, present tense, but like you're there a year from now already. And then the third sheet, which really gets, and I'll have CEOs who have Mr. I don't show emotion. The third sheet is, I give myself permission. And to be that person you need to be in a year, like what habits do you give yourself permission to start or stop? What people do you give yourself permission to bring into your life or shut out of your life? What behaviors? And just that unburdening of just, you don't have to you don't say, I need to do this, I should do this. Just the word permission. I think life can be gentle when you allow it to just be, who do you want to be? Give yourself permission to grow. And if you don't want to, that's okay too. If you have those days, and this comes back to your accountability point that you were making earlier, or sorry, grace.
Grace, yeah, give yourself grace. Yeah, exactly. Same thing. I love it. I think that's a fan, because now you're really into that persona triad that we've talked about, and when you're trying to establish yourself, so that's a wonderful exercise. I think they probably get a lot of light bulbs going off in that.
Light bulbs, tears, and I'll get people that don't show emotion like this one hit me, because they don't realize. And how much of it is just themselves, that inner critic. Sometimes that Gilbert Gottfried voice is the voice of our early caregiver that we've just adopted and now becomes part of my subconscious psyche. Right, yeah. And then understanding that you're giving yourself permission to let go of what that voice has been telling you for 40 years.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest issues right now in society, is that everyone's running off of that emotion and that history that they haven't self-identified themselves. And so their identity is really this more unconscious, whatever happened to them, throughout their time, and they haven't. Most people, I think, have not really taken the time to sit down and think, what is it that I actually like or value?
And that's really hard.
What's important to me?
And that's really hard to do by yourself unless you have, a facilitator, instructor, someone,
or find my why book.
Yeah, find my why book. That's right. It's really hard to do. And so unless you have that help, you like 9 times out of 10, you probably won't end up doing it unless something traumatic happens, I imagine. But yeah, I think it's super important to have people like yourself doing that for others. No matter what level people are, whether a CEO of a company or a team captain on a football team, I mean, that's all important. Yeah. So no, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, even down to the frontline workers in the field. Like whenever I'm speaking with companies, I'll have them do a little exercise. I'll say, all right, I want you to think about a movie of your life and share with each other who would play you in that movie. So like, who would play Aaron and Jimmy? Who would play you guys in the movie of your life?
I have to think about that one.
Who would play me?
Yeah, who would play you?
Yeah, who'd play you?
Who would play me?
I don't know. That's a great
Keanu Reeves.
Is
Okay.
that right?
Why Keanu?
But the new Keanu, no,
The new one?
like the Constantine Keanu Reeves. No, I don't know.
Not John Wick?
Not
John
John
Wick,
Wick. No,
no.
I'm not a John Wick.
That'd be kind of fun, though.
That'd be cool if I was that badass.
Okay, so let's say you're a consultant now on the set of your movie, and
I
the
think it'd
director
be
comes
Seth
over.
Rogen, actually. Seth Rogen or
Seth Rogen?
some goofy
Wow, I mean,
Jewish guy, probably, because,
A little different than Keanu, but I'll go with it. That's
yeah.
fine. So let's say now that you're a consultant on the set, and the director comes over and says, "All right, Aaron, in this scene, Seth is playing you, but you're having a fight with your significant other. Would you be proud to tell Seth how to play you in that scene?"
But you're asking me.
Yeah.
Man, why didn't Jimmy go? Put me on the spot.
You're good.
You answer it. Would I be proud of how he would act based on how I would do it?
Well, I mean, we're not critiquing his acting skills, but like, would you feel comfortable saying, when you throw the plate of spaghetti, Seth, make sure that you sling it all over. Like, would you be proud to tell him how you tend to be in that scenario?
I'd say partially.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the awareness that, what's that?
6 out of 10.
And then the awareness comes that there is a movie about your life.
Sure.
And then guess who's playing you?
Yeah.
You.
You. And then, and if you're not sitting there,
I'm a terrible
actively-
actor. No.
Well, but that's the thing is then are you playing a role or are you genuinely being Aaron? And if you're genuinely being Aaron, is it the Aaron you want to be that's in alignment with your values and who you are? And if not, that's when the soul searching exercises come in. Then I'm on autopilot. Because if the only thing that defines us are our actions, right? Because that's the only thing that you have control over at the end of the day is how you choose to respond. And if you're ceding control of that, then who the hell are you? Because if you've ever made that mea culpa of, I apologize for my behavior, that's not a representation of who I am. Well, all you are is what you do. So then who is it?
Yeah. So, it makes me, we had in our directed research class, one of our, each student had to teach a class and various organizational behavior topics, but one of them, one of my classmates did on authenticity or authentic leadership, which I've never been a big fan of all these different leadership theories where you ethical leadership and authentic leadership and this leadership and that leadership. Because to me, they all overlap and they're all telling sort of the same story, just in different ways. Servant leadership, transformational leadership, transactional. I mean, there's some that have clear, I think more clear benefit or function, but some of them are better for like teaching behavior versus understanding more philosophical or theoretical. But anyways, I didn't realize how complicated authenticity was, the concept of authenticity, right? Because you start to think about, well, what does it mean to be authentic? Well, to be authentic means you're being yourself, right? Well, who is yourself? Is it who you want to be? Is it who you are now? Is it who you've been in the past? Right? How do you define it? And there's so many different ways to look at that.
Well, but it comes back to it's about the journey. It's about the discovery of who you are through those interactions. So, and I do tie this into athletics. So I signed up for the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon next year. Want to swim from Alcatraz? Yeah, and
that just blows my mind actually. Good luck.
Well, and for me, it's not about the finish line. It's about who do I become on the journey to be able to do that. Yeah. It's like to say that you're a leader, it's who do you become on the journey to be an authentic leader. It's not about just, I'm an authentic leader now, I'm done, because we're never done. So I think whenever we look at these metrics and these KPIs for what we want to be successful, it's about that growth in order to do it. If you want to be if you're a high school football player, it's about who are you on that journey to be the best version of that person of you. It's not about how many championships. I mean, I guess it depends on your intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. But if you view it as a never-ending journey of self-discovery, it's a beautiful thing because you get to learn all the stuff about you. And if you do that as a leader, you're on that ride with your team. Like they get to see who you are and you get to see who they are. Because if you're viewing leadership as I get to develop my team and bring out the best in them and make them future leaders, then it's such a beautiful dichotomy of helping each other grow versus I'm here to make sure we hit budget. right? It's like, so what are you defining your title as, and what does that mean to you?
Right.
So I think, have you ever read The Infinite Game that Simon Sinek wrote?
I haven't read that one.
It's the
Or
last
the
one, yeah.
background. It's based on, it's like a little book. It's based on this old like philosophical book, but I think it rolls into that too in terms of what you actually decide your values are. The idea of an infinite game is that an infinite game never ends, right? So compared to like a sport where there's a score and somebody wins and somebody loses,
Or quarterly earnings for corporate.
quarterly earnings. But the reality is an organization is really, it's an infinite game. But if you play a finite game, if you play it like a finite game in an infinite game, then you're basically always going to lose, right? Because it doesn't actually end. But that if you look at things in terms of, no, it just keeps going, right? Then it gets back to the same kind of stuff, the journey, not the destination. So.
Yeah, I had a client of mine. She was a chief safety officer, and she told me that she wanted a divorce from her to-do list because it was just a matter of, I'll have more boxes to check at the end of the day than the beginning of the day. Mm-hmm. And we were talking during one of her sessions, it was on a Monday, and what she did over the weekend, she told me she sat down and watched Lord of the Rings movies. She loved Lord of the Rings. And I asked her, I said, why didn't you just fast forward the credits? And she said, what do you mean? I go, well, you just wanted to say you watched the movie. Why didn't you watch it at double speed? Like, you just wanted to say you did it, right? She's like, no, I wanted to sit and enjoy it. Like, well, how different would your life be or your work be if that's how you viewed work? Instead of just wanting to check the box, you focused on what that process is like of just sitting to get to check that box. And it's such a different mindset, especially in the Western corporate world, when it's like all about EBITDA, all about, like hitting these metrics, but we miss the human element. And I think we're really starting to see the tide turn and companies understand how important that is to be present and enjoy that journey.
We listen like Audible books, and podcasts, and we get to 2x speed. And recently, I'd say probably in the last couple of months, where I'm listening to a podcast I just really enjoy, I just go back to 1 speed and just to sit there and just listen to it. And I find that so much more enjoyable. Now, if I'm trying to get through a book and understand what it's about, then I might increase the speed. But like if I'm truly in there because I enjoy it, I'll crank it right back down to 1.
Yeah,
it's a great experience.
It's funny you say, because like I've done audiobooks for Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and a bunch of those nerdy books, Harry Potter, and I think one of my favorites was the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's a hilarious book. It's better than the movie.
Have you read Dungeon Crawler, Carl?
Oh, I haven't done that one. I'll have to look.
I'm telling you right now, like get the audio book, the audio narrator. It's incredible.
Yeah, see, that's what I like, because they're way better narrating than in my inside voice.
Yeah,
right? And because I don't have Gilbert Gottfried narrating my book.
Free promo, Dungeon Crawler Carl. There's like 7 books in the series. I got started, and I enjoyed it so much. Just being present and listening to the story.
But those, just to your point, I slowed those back down to 1 time. But all the management leadership books, I still like to do them at 2x because I like to get through them, and it's more about like understanding, and I don't feel like I'm losing
with those type of books.
Enjoyment of it.
With those type of books, I know when I go faster, I tend to retain the information more.
Focus harder.
Yeah, because I'm really focused, and then I'll have to rewind it if I do lose track. But yeah, for the enjoyment part of it, I'll definitely slow it down. And some of those fictional books, like I read or I listened to James. It was basically Huck Finn from the perspective of James in the book. And it was, but they use all the I guess they have voice actors do like back in the day, and so that if you speed that up, it just doesn't sound right. So, but so I enjoy that. So so I think when it's enjoyable, I'll definitely slow it down. But if it's more educational and I just want to get through it as well, then I'll speed it up. But
well, this comes back to like intention and even authenticity. It's like, well, hey, I don't enjoy like listening to Simon Sinek on 1 speed. I'll do double speed because I want to extract value, and every word's not going to have value, but I'll know it when I hear it. Versus if I'm doing it to listen to just enjoy it, I want the nuance and all of the flavor of it. So yeah, it makes sense.
So to have that intention to be no way is right or wrong. It's just a way, but to understand why you do what you do in those different scenarios. That's the important part. So then that allows you to be very intentional as how you listen to a podcast or an audible book. And not to feel like, oh, I should listen to this at 2 speed, or I should listen. There's that should word, right? It needs to be thrown out. So
don't should on yourself.
No.
Yeah, I heard somebody once say should is just could with shame attached.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. This has been a super cool discussion, by the way. I could talk for hours.
Oh yeah, same. I love talking with
this
you
time
guys.
you mean it when you say
That's right. Don't say that.
he said this before, but this time he
This time I mean
means
it.
This time he means it. This time's for real.
No, this. I mean, everything you're doing is like right in my I'm right in my wheelhouse. This is, I'm certified mental performance consultant through the Association for Applied Sports Psychology.
ASP.
And ASP. Yeah, we just had our annual conference in Montreal, last month,
nice.
and it was super cool. Lots of good topics, new topics that I thought really kind of revive the membership, and to get up there and have open conversations and disagreements, which hasn't happened in a bit. So it was.
Well, what new topics are there in sports psychology?
Okay, well, there's a book by Rafi
Thanks
Cohen.
for asking.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I know. Trash talking is probably the newest one that came up, and there was not a clear divide, but some people just didn't agree with it. So Rafi Cohen wrote this book on trash talking, and basically to describe the history of it, describe why we do it, and it's not going anywhere, so you might as well deal with it. And so then the question became, because up until that point, we teach our athletes, let your performance do all the talking, right?
Yeah.
Even working with 10-year-olds or D1 athletes, it didn't matter. We just discourage it. His point was, let's not demand censorship, but let's actually have them critically think through it. And they can decide if they want to do it or not, and then understand how to respond and create choice and how to respond to it, right? And it goes back to what we're talking about. And it would just open my mind. It was great. But again, you've got people in there that have been doing this for 40 years and just totally disagreed with it, and it creates some dissension, but it was the great conversation that followed. It was wonderful. So I also do course, I develop course development in
curriculum.
Thank you. National University is where I work at as well. And I had them, we just did a course on culture and sports psychology. And I talked to the course author, and I gave him the book. I said, we're going to include this in our course because it's just fantastic. And the point of it is just to create that discussion so athletes can be intentional whether they want to trash talk or not, but then also know where that, where is crossing the line, that morality question, and that's important as well.
Well, and then how do you respond when other people do trash talking? Like if you're not preparing for what the other person's doing, then you're setting yourself up.
So it could, if they get under your skin. So one of the reasons they could do it is just to get under your skin, right? Create more anxiety. And if you don't know that that's their intention, and then you let them get under your skin, you have no space between your response and their trash talking. You can go high and right pretty quick.
You take the bait, you get hooked.
Right.
Have you ever? I use an analogy with my clients called green socks. Where if someone walked up to you on the street, Jimmy, and said, "I hate your green socks," and you may know this, and if you were wearing green socks, how would you respond?
What are you talking about? Or you might look down and see if you have green socks.
Yeah, but so often when somebody says something to us, if we think there's a kernel of truth to it, we lapse into a fight or flight. It offends us, and we come from a place of ego. But so in my head, I have my clients just say green socks. Like it really has nothing to do with me, whether it's a projection of them or them trying to get under my skin, or they're just misinformed. Whenever we take the bait, then they control us. And I love Christopher Voss when he talks about this, in negotiations and stuff like that.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. Aaron has a special relationship with Chris.
Oh, really?
I went to a happy hour at a conference that he was at for a master class. And I talked to him for 10 minutes. So Jimmy likes to say
they got drunk together in the same bar.
So Jimmy likes to say we got drunk together. We're buddies now or something. Did
you get a picture at least for the website?
He was a cool dude. We got to chat for 10, 15 minutes. He's a
good dude. We love his book as well. Yeah, he's a good speaker.
Oh yeah, never split the difference. Yeah, he's good.
Right. Mm-hmm. Real quick though, trash talking. The last thing I would say, there's one aspect of where you want to motivate the other person, whether it's your teammate or even an opponent, right? And so if they're trying to get you aroused to perform at your optimal level, and you understand that, then you may take the bait and to increase, because the point that Rafi made was Larry Bird always wanted, he was the best and he wanted to be your best. So he wanted you, so he would do a lot of trash talking to elevate the arousal state of his opponents. And if you knew where you were, if you knew you need to be on a scale of 1 to 10, you need to be at a 10, you would take the bait and you would continue to trash talk to stay at that level. And that would help. But if your optimal arousal state is out of 3, like Tim Duncan, for instance, you wouldn't take the bait. You would just stay as stoic as possible. So again, going back to understanding yourself and where you best operate at or optimally perform, whether it's in the boardroom or on the field, that's super, super important. And only then could you truly, be deliberate and intentional about your behavior going forward. So.
And this comes back to, what you guys were talking about, like being authentic, like knowing what your triggers are, what, how, or your disposition, your triggers, but what your disposition is in certain situations. Like the way that Dennis Rodman would try, that's a very different thing than Larry Bird, right? Like you want to get in your opponent's head so that they're not on their A game. So
Phil Jackson also, he had a comment about Dennis Rodman. He observed and he said, look, he realized that whatever energy you brought to him, he would match it. And sometimes he was at a 12 or a 15 and he needed to bring him a little bit down lower. So, and I think the mindfulness practice really helped Dennis in that. So George Mumford gets into that as well too. So it's pretty cool, but super, super cool.
I ought to check out both of those books. And I think there is such a great correlation between athletics and leadership. And that's why, if I ever have kids, I want to encourage them to play sports, to learn about themselves, learn about teamwork, how you show up in the face of adversity. And I don't want to say life is a game. I even wrote a post about this not too long ago. My friend who passed away in 2020, I trained him for the one triathlon he did. I trained him for that back when I was a trainer. And he dropped out during the bike portion of the race. He borrowed a bike from somebody that was like a steel mountain bike. I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing triathlon on that thing for? And then I was racing in Kona this year, not the Ironman, just a regular, like an Olympic distance. And I was thinking about, the parallels between life and sport, that he didn't cross the finish line. Like in life, he dropped out during the bike. And we think we have all this time. We think like, well, when I get to the run, that's when I'm really going to shine. You may never get to the run. It's not a finish line. It's just everything is a practice for just being the best version of you for whenever you need to produce, whether that's on the field or in the boardroom.
Right on. Yeah, and how you define those events is super important too, right? If he drops out and says, "Oh, I'm a quitter, I'm a failure," I mean that could be incredibly detrimental to his well-being going forward. But if he understands why he did it and just accepts it at some point, I mean, not to do it immediately there, but then and again, your tire blew out. It's maybe to how you define that moment is so important as well. So
I developed a tool called Just F It, which are 4 F's. It's a kind of a DBT thing. So the first 2 F's are facts and feelings. So in the scenario, all right, what are the objective facts? And then what are the feelings you're experiencing because of the facts? Because a lot of times, we'll take those feelings and make that a fact. And it's like, well, now that's not a fact. So once you're able to separate those out, the third F is flip it. Flip the feeling. If you were okay with it, what would you be doing differently? And it's not to gaslight yourself into thinking, all right, don't be sad, but it helps you recognize, one, that feelings aren't going to last forever, and that you're probably limiting your options because you're telling yourself the story about this is bad, I don't like it. And if you didn't feel that way, you probably would be doing different things. And then the fourth F is future. What would 80-year-old you tell you to do to handle the situation better? And so using this is kind of just a reframing technique. And I've built a couple of GPTs that I call it Next 30 AI, so that my clients can use these GPTs when I'm not around, that'll walk them through these processes of how to just reframe things on the fly.
That's kind of gets to my original question about mindfulness or the self-talk. And I think your framework right there really does that. The reframing of it it's really good. Because in the end of the day, people just need to know how to do something like that, how to change that narrative. And I think that's super helpful. That's really cool. Yeah. I thought you were going to say F it and forget it. The last 2 F's.
No, these are 4 F's, but it catches on because we all
were talking about the first 2. I was trying to figure out what are the next 2. Is it F it and forget it? Just mess around.
Well, we're about at time, but we always like to finish with jokes. So I don't know if I mentioned that to you when we talked before. So if you don't have any jokes, I have a couple, because I was actually I stumbled upon an old list and I was going through. But if you have any jokes, and we like terrible dad jokes, those are the best.
And if you have any with profanity, we can always bleep those.
Oh, I do love dad jokes. I was dating a woman who didn't like dad jokes. We had to break up. She was a tennis player, but we broke up because love meant nothing to her.
There you go. That was good.
Dude, he was ready to go.
He was. He nailed it.
Man, smooth.
Oh, yeah.
I want to give you the rim shot.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Did you hear that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
I have an old one about my dad. We used to go play with these big old tires, and he used to put me in this big, tractor tires and just roll me down the hill. It was a good year.
Oh, see, I love these. I love that.
It's
Give
still
me the
good.
Trump.
I like
It's
that.
still good.
Terrible.
I was going to go for Halloween this year as a deer. I guess I'll just ask you, what do you call a deer with no eyes?
Ooh. I don't know. I can't play.
I have no idea.
No
I was going to
idea.
go as a deer with sunglasses on, and when people ask, "What are you?" I'm like, "I have no idea," and that was going to be my maybe next year.
Nice.
Maybe next year.
A no, or a eye patch even.
Oh yeah, well that stuff.
No,
I have one idea.
A one eye. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
No, it's like
That'd be
the
no.
what do you call a fish with no eye?
I like that one. That one I know.
Where's
Well,
your jokes, bro? Come on.
Yeah. I want to come back and be another guest just for the joke segment. This is,
Right
I
on.
mean, this is
We
great.
get some of the best jokes and put them in a reel.
No, my jokes are bad. What I just keep running this one is where it's not a dad joke really. It's a duck goes to the grocery store and he asks the guy at the counter, do you have any grapes? And the guy's like, no, we don't carry grapes here. And it's like, okay, so he leaves. And the next day the duck comes back and he asks, same thing, same guy, do you have grapes today? He's like, no, we don't carry grapes. We don't have grapes yesterday. We don't have grapes today. Get out of here. And the duck's, okay. So he leaves. Next day he comes back again. What does he do? He goes up to the guy. Do you have grapes? And the guy's like, no, I told you, this is ridiculous. I don't have time for this. Get out of here. You know what? If you come back tomorrow and ask me if we have grapes, if you don't have grapes, I'm going to nail your bill to the ground. And they, okay. So the duck leaves. He comes back the next day. He says, hey, do you have any nails? The guy's like, no. He's like, do you have any grapes?
I like that one.
Yeah,
Too
works.
long,
That works.
maybe.
Nah, it works.
No, it works.
Such
It
a
wasn't by
silly
the
joke.
aristocrats, but it was.
That's right. It wasn't
not the aristocrat. So,
Well, shukran, Ramsey. It was super fun having you.
Yeah, you guys too. This was fun. I'd love to come back on at some point and just
Yeah, I mean, just hit us up. We're always welcoming. So, you have anything going on in your life that you want to let everyone else before you go? Like, is there how can people find you?
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, shameless plug. BergeronWellbeing.com. Launching my next 30 system. It's like starting next year. I'm starting that book right now also. But yeah, just a mindset system for companies. So you have systems for your operations. This is a system to help you get out of autopilot and decide what do you want your legacy as an individual, as a leader, and as an organization to be.
nice.
That's
Cool.
Ramsey Bergeron from. He's a leadership growth strategist.
Yes.
Yes.
In Arizona, right? You're in
In
Arizona?
Scottsdale, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So it's an hour later right now.
Oh, okay.
For
They
now.
had the time
Yeah.
change for now.
Until
Yeah.
until the spring.
We don't have that daylight savings, and it always screws up everything because if the rest of the world got on board, it'd be great. But yeah.
I agree with that one actually.
So there were two goldfish in a tank. One turns to the other. Says, how do you drive this thing?
That's a good one.
I haven't heard that one.
Congrats! You made it to the end of the episode. Thanks for tuning in. We genuinely hope that you found value in our conversation. If you liked it, please click that like button below and subscribe so that you can stay up to date on our current episodes. And if you didn't like it, you can click the dislike button, but make sure you click it twice. We're eager to hear from you, whether it's your thoughts, questions, topic ideas, or if you're interested in our leadership training and consulting support. Leave us a comment below or reach out to us directly at info@intrinsicfirst.com. We're open to any and all feedback. Thanks again for joining us. We look forward to having you back for more insightful leadership discussion. Until next time.